guys, it's Brett Deering, founder of BXO and also an advisory council member. And today we're going to talk about probability impact exercises. A lot of times business owners will say, Brett, been a tough year with the pandemic, trying to get ready for 2021, hopefully a better year for us. In some cases, a lot of owners are thinking about that growth plan. And so one of the things they're saying is, how do I create the effective growth plan that ultimately will get us moving from more of a recovery opportunity to a growth opportunity in 2021? What I often say is that, a lot of times when we make these growth plans, there's a lot of aspiration around that, right? What we think we could be doing based on kind of where a business is. But ultimately, what we're not thinking about, and which also be incorporated into your plan, is some of those components that were causing challenges for the 2020 year, calendar and fiscal year, but also maybe some of the things in your business that you're not really looking at today, but could potentially cause impact to your business moving into 2021. So today I'm going to take you through a quick probability exercise, share a story with you, and then we'll show you how you're able to get our worksheet for the exercise itself. So let me just share my screen here really quickly. As I said before, probability impact exercise is something that we often use with our business owners. And the question that it answers is really how to build the foundation for a really solid growth plan. One of the things that you want to do is you want to start off with probability. What's the probability of some of these things that are in your business that could impact the growth strategy and or the growth projection of your business next year? What are they and how would they impact the business, right? So what you'll see here is on the left side, you'll see the low probability and high probability opportunities for these challenges that potentially happen. And then what's the impact on the bottom, right? And so this is an actual business owner that we were working with for the better part of 3 years, right up to the pandemic. And so one of the things that we did immediately is we utilized this probability impact exercise to kind of get an idea of what are some of the things that could potentially happen over the course of the pandemic. And so we sat down with the business owner first, who was focused on these top two, which was first and foremost, the product manufacturing halted. A lot of the pieces that they were using to assemble their product were coming out of China. And so they were very concerned about these pieces, the production of these pieces halting, ultimately impacting their ability to complete their product and manufacture and ship. The second was, this kind of second spike and shutdown. They were worried about if we got through this, what would happen if we would have another shutdown in the industry and or in their business. And so those were the two things that this particular business owner was focused on. What we did at BXO is we sat down with the business owner and the team. And as we started to deliver this conversation around probability and impact and creating this exercise, what we found was there were roughly 6 or 7 other things that were a priority for the team that they were thinking about that the business owner wasn't even thinking about. If you look here, accounts receivable stretched. So what was interesting was the CFO was sitting in this same team meeting was saying, hey, our accounts payable, has been, we've been stretching that because our accounts receivable has been stretched. And so that's creating another issue for us. And so in the beginning of the pandemic, they were right around 22 days. At the heat of the pandemic, they went from 22 days all the way to almost 48 days. So in just a course of a very short period, about 4 weeks, they were already heading into kind of that 60-day territory, which for the CFO was something that they were very concerned about. Clients that, would stop services. So these manufacturing companies, and some of the ancillary services that they were using to assemble their product, they were concerned about. And they thought that that would have a high impact. Credit shortage, at that time they were looking at addressing and or utilizing the PPP loan. And so they were able to apply for a loan. But the interesting thing about that was it was the same bank that they had their customary loans with that also was doing the PPP loan. So the CFO said, hey, our business looks dramatically different. Our balance sheet looks dramatically different in February than it does today. And that was back in April and May. And so for our perspective, that may mean that we may have a problem with trying to find credit down the road when it comes to our growth plan. So how do we figure out what to do from that perspective? No strategic product. And so one of the things they were trying to do is pivot a bit their product line to see if there were other products that they could bring in that would be a little bit more pandemic oriented, but also ultimately offer them an opportunity to focus on some of the areas that they had in short and gap in their existing product line. And then the Amazon, kind of point of, sale hold. It was interesting. One of the things that was happening was that, they took about 20 to 30% of their standard business and they moved it online via Amazon. Well, as we were going through this pandemic, well, one of the things that happened was they started to see a lot of the POS's opportunity to sell started to slow down. And the reason for that was because Amazon was actually starting to ramp up the PPE opportunities for people to purchase PPE, and they were actually taking down services as well as product that weren't PPE related. And so it was interesting how all of that happened. And so what they were seeing is that a large portion of their Amazon sales purchase orders were now starting to decline. And so that was an issue, and there was a big impact to the business. And so what I'm saying to you here ultimately is that you want to focus on these opportunities. You want to create these, this probability impact exercise with your team. Figure out what are those 3, 4, 5 priority elements. We have 10 here, but we always say, what are the 5 that you can focus on that are going to give you an opportunity to incorporate into your growth plan? And then finally, you want to take that one step further. You want to figure out and define the potential disruption in your business, meaning if there's a short disruption in business, if there's an intermediate disruption in business, or there's a longer term disruption, then you want to take those 5 to 10 items and you want to list them priority wise as far as how and the impact of the business that they would have based upon, if it's a short, intermediate, or long-term business disruption to your business moving into 2021. So we hope that you found this helpful. What I would say is if you haven't had a chance to do a probability impact exercise with your team, it's a great Monday exercise. It's a great way to get everybody on the same page and a great way for you as a business owner to understand what your team is focused on is from a challenges perspective and what really they're hoping to mitigate from an operational perspective. So if you want the worksheet that we have to be able to do this probability exercise with your team, email us at info@bizownexchange.com. All right, everyone. Well, I appreciate your time. And until next time, stay safe, everyone.